An honor it is for me in this very first edition to have the new Danish superstar on this video podcast sponsored by Fusion. Laura Madsen just arrived in Denmark. How are you, Laura?
Yeah, thanks. I'm great. A bit tired, but yeah, super happy and yeah, proud about the performance I put on this weekend. So yeah.
21 years of age, and this season has been like you could never have dreamed of anything better like this. You had your first 70.3 win back in April, and now you backed it up with this performance. I know you've been in good shape, but the way that you performed, was that as expected, or did you knew that you were in pretty good shape going into that race in France?
Well, I knew that I was in good shape, but I definitely did not expect it to be good enough for the win. But yeah, I just somehow had great legs this weekend, so that was nice.
I saw a recap of the race, and compared to other races you have done, like you were 8 or 10 girls in the transition area, and you don't come from an ITU short distance background. Did you expect to be first out of a transition going into the run? It looked like you had practiced that quite a bit, or I don't know.
No, definitely not. But I mean, the last races I have done, my transitions have been pretty bad.
Yeah.
So going into this race, it was actually one of my focus points before the race to really calm down and focus through the transition, because I know that a little mistake in the transition zone can mean a lot of time. So yeah, it was definitely something I thought about going into the race. So be able to come out first out of the T2 was it was nice.
I know that the guys down in Les Sables, they actually announced 1 week before this race that next year they're going to have a full Ironman there. So try to talk a little bit about this course. It's new on the Ironman Pro Series, but I don't think too many people, at least here in Northern Europe, know too much about it. So talk a little bit about your experience with this course.
Yeah, it was a really nice course, I would say. I mean, the swim was like we started on the beach and then swam into the harbor, which was pretty nice. It was easy sighting all the way around,
Yeah.
so that was nice. And then came onto the bike, which was like rolling, rolling hills all the way, not that much elevation, but still like a bit rolling, and came through some nice landscape and stuff.
Yeah.
And then the run was pretty amazing, I would say. I mean, going just out and back with not too many turns and stuff. It's nice, and it makes for a fast run. So I really like the course a lot, and just the place was pretty amazing.
Last time, I mean, back in April when you also raced 7.3, was that, I believe that was in Mallorca, wasn't it?
Valencia.
That was Valencia, also
Yeah,
Spain somewhere. I couldn't quite
yeah.
remember. But there you made quite an impressive effort on the run. But here I think you even topped it a little bit, because you were able to surge all the way, and also managed to have your fastest ever run split. I think it's first time you
Mhm.
go below 120.
Yeah,
So
it
is
was.
that intensive specific run training, or just time has done its magic? What can you explain why everything suddenly clicks for you on the run?
Well, I think that just the fact that I've been able to run like consistent over the last
Yeah.
year, and I have run consistent also after each race. I've been able to run like 4 or 5 days after, and then come directly into some harder run session. I think that just makes it like progress nicely, and that I've been able to build on my run performance. It was really nice to just feel like I could push all the way, and it was quite nice.
Can you feel now when you come out to races that you are a familiar face also to the race organization and people around the race. You begin to your face starts to show up on what do you call the PR around the race. People want interviews, stuff like that. Can you feel like the pressure gets intensified a little bit?
Actually, not that much.
Not
I
that
mean,
much, no.
in Les Sables, I didn't have any interviews or anything from the
Okay.
before the race, which I mean, I think it's nice. It's
Yeah.
okay for me to just like there is no pressure to just kind of go under the radar, and then
Yeah.
yeah, I know what I'm capable of on
Mm.
race day. So I mean, I don't need to have all the attention on me before. Yeah, so not that much yet, but after the race, there was a lot of yeah, of people around
Because
me.
I've noticed on other YouTube channels or in international triathlon media that your name begins to pop up, and yeah, maybe also of course because of your results, but also taking into account your very young age, that you are certainly one to watch.
Yeah, I think that yeah, my performances the last four performances has just yeah made more people aware about me, and
Yeah.
yeah, I think that more and more people also from the outside will yeah know who I am after these results.
We haven't talked too much about that a little bit surprised wild card you suddenly received going to San Francisco. What was that even like, going there a little bit out of nowhere, and your performance? I think was it a top 10 performance? What,
Yeah,
ninth?
yeah, ninth place. I
Yeah,
just squeezed into top 10,
yeah, yeah,
which was actually my goal before the race, to just be able to go in top 10, and then
yeah.
I'll be happy. Yeah.
So talk a little bit about that. I think when I've looked a little bit on your splits, and you're actually you're around top 6 to 12 in every leg of the race, so you don't underperform anywhere, you can say. So it's not like you're okay. What's she doing here? She doesn't belong. So you really proved yourself there, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I hope that I proved myself. I mean, it was a really nice experience, yeah, to be able to race at a T100. All the things that the PTO and the T100 does for the athletes, it's pretty special during a race week, and yeah, it's super easy to yeah to get to race the race, and yeah, it was really nice experience, and I just went in with none expectations at all. Yeah, just said to myself before the race that I just had to go out and perform to my best, and then the result was what it was. And yeah, I mean, I surprised myself a lot, I'd say. Yeah.
I've talked to, for instance, Magnus, of course, when he won a T100 race earlier, and he explained that the media circus, you can say, going around, because there's a lot of obligations. You have to do photo sessions, you have to do a lot of media stuff, both before but also after the race. Did that surprise you a little bit, that you couldn't just walk around being a tourist and mind your own business in race week?
Yeah, I mean, I think for the contracted athletes, there is a lot more obligations than there
Okay.
was for me. So actually, I didn't have that many obligations in the race week, but I mean, there was cameras all over the
Yeah,
place,
yeah.
like following us going to the pool and stuff, which was, yeah, it was a bit weird, but also a fun experience.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, what do you think? What are the chances that you can come back? Have you any idea about in
Well, I
London,
know that
maybe?
I'm the wild cards for London has always already been picked.
All right,
But I know if someone drops out of the race, like
you're
the
first in
20
line.
athletes now, I'm first in line.
Okay, so that's
I don't
pretty
know if
nice.
that's confidential or anything actually, but I think that I would say it, yeah, that I would be the first in line. Yeah.
Yeah, it could be confidential, but
Yeah, I'm not
I
quite
don't think
sure.
it couldn't be the biggest secret, because,
No.
of course, if you're chosen to San Francisco, people know that you are on that list. But that's also maybe you can say you have two horses to bet on, the 70.3 or Ironman Pro Series, but also T100. So have you and your team done different stuff when this opportunity suddenly arises? Does that change anything?
Well, for me, the Pro Series would be like a big task because you kind of have to do 3 Ironmans,
Oh, that's
and
true. Yeah.
I'm not quite there yet.
No.
So for me, this season has just been all about, yeah, racing like events that I would like to race, and then
Hmm.
be able to get enough points to climb up the rankings, and then, yeah, see what I can get for next year, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another thing I think we could talk a little bit about is that for you, the experience is a family project a little bit. Your father is very active. He's actually racing in Roth, and your boyfriend as well raced after a long and tough injury.
Mm.
Thor was 12th, I believe,
Yeah.
in
Yeah, he
in
was.
a quite stacked field, and he actually announces that he's going to race Ironman in a few weeks. So, are
Yeah.
you going to not, of course, not race, but be a part of his Ironman preparation? Maybe doing some longer rides to support him, or is there any plans for that,
Yes.
or are you more focused on your own schedule, not getting mixed into that Ironman full Ironman stuff?
I mean, when we are able to train together, we train together,
Yeah,
and it's quite funny. I have been doing some long tempo runs the last couple of weeks, where I've been like doing 2 times 30 minutes at my 70.3 race pace, around
yeah,
a little bit above, and yeah, Troy is about to do like Ironman pace, which is kind of the same pace
yeah,
as my tempo runs. So maybe we can actually go out together. We have
yeah,
talked
yeah,
about doing that, and then yeah, that could be quite fun
yeah.
actually. Yeah.
Fantastic. And I I know Magnus has been on altitude camp, and you guys are spread a little bit everywhere. People have been to Mallorca everywhere. So your base, the last few weeks or month even, has that been more outside of the Danish borders, or have you? I'm not quite aware. Where have your base
Well,
primarily been?
I have been in, yeah, Denmark training, and then going out to races, coming
Okay.
back to Denmark, training a bit, going back to a new place, and then
Yeah.
I've kind of been doing that since Valencia actually. And so yeah, just having like a race week outside of Denmark, then 2 or 3 weeks at home, and then a race week again. And yeah, I've been doing that since Valencia, which has been nice, but it's also a lot of travel.
Yeah. So do you think that maybe next year you might do things a little bit different? So less travel days. Like I've been talking to, for instance, Daniel Bækkegaard, who is a guy who's quite sensitive to many travel days, long travel. So he's now based in Switzerland, for instance.
Mm.
So maybe have you guys thought about, yeah, I don't know, having a base somewhere in Europe for or even the States for a month or two, or is that something you guys have talked about for next
Not
year maybe?
not yet, but I mean it could definitely be interesting to
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, to do something like that. I mean, we haven't looked on the races for next year yet, but if something would make sense, I think that we could yeah, we could probably do something like yeah, like staying in a place, and maybe if you have a lot of races in the United States, then just stay over there. But I mean, for now, I really like to just stay in Denmark and train, and then go out to races. Yeah.
yeah. When you are on the wait list for this race, I think London is in 2 weeks, isn't that right?
It's in
Right.
the end of July,
End of July. Okay,
28th,
so
I
it's
think.
it's
Yeah.
after Roth at least.
Yeah. Yeah.
Does that mean that everything else is cancelled, or do you have a plan B? What were you if we take London out of the consideration? Were there anything lined up for you, or did you have a long training block planned there?
Uh, yeah, well, we kind of hoped that I would get a wild card for
Yeah.
London. So actually, I haven't made any plans yet. but I think I will train as if I'm racing London, and if I'm not racing London, I will make a new plan. I guess I think I'll have to talk with my father about that. I haven't really been able to talk with him yet, we will definitely make sure that we have a plan B if I won't receive the wildcard for London. Yeah.
Ah, fantastic. When you start to get results, one of the places that you can immediately tell that stuff is going on is your Instagram account, new followers. And I've seen on your way back, what better to kill some time with some Q&A, a lot of questions coming in there. What's that been like for a young person like yourself to suddenly get Instagram famous, so to speak, and also maybe how do you feel? What do you call it? The community is responding to you and your results.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't call me Instagram famous, but I mean, I definitely haven't gotten a lot more followers, and I mean, after the Q&A, I made yesterday. I also got a lot of messages from people like people that thinks that I inspires them to race and to do triathlon, which is something that I really appreciate, and I'm glad that I can actually inspire some people, and that people find the things I do interesting and wants to follow my journey. Yeah.
Are there any typical questions? Like, are they very focused on you being basically a teenager, or not a teenager, but 21, one of the absolute youngest people on the pro circuit, or is it more daily questions like favorite pizza, favorite Netflix? I don't know. What kind of questions are typical? In your Instagram feed?
Well, there was a lot of different questions, I would say. Some like being, what is your favorite this or that, and stuff like that. But also people being interested in the training I do, and how I structure my training, what I eat, how I recover, how I travel, how I just like my everyday life, which was it was fun to get so many questions.
Yeah, I haven't even ask you too much about your training progress. Is there anything in particular that surprised you? Because our last interview was back in April after your victory in Valencia, and we talked about that you, after high school, you upped your training hours to about 30 to 35 per week, and of course you'll get immediate results from that. But apart from that, is there anything in the last few months that you surprised yourself that you're actually able to lift your game on your bike, on the run, on the swim, anything?
Not in particular. I mean, one thing that I think I have really been better at the last couple of months is believing a bit more in myself. I mean, during winter training, I had a lot of, I would not say meltdowns, but I mean, I could easily be feeling just the worst triathlete in the whole world. I mean, just really feeling bad about myself.
Yeah.
And I've been better at just, before a training session, if something feels off or something, just talk with either Thor or my father about it, and then actually get through the training session. So I mean, I think I've upped my mental game a bit.
Interesting.
And that's something that also going into a race week, I'm much more calm and just collected and believing a bit more in myself, and that I'm actually capable of going out to compete with the best in the world. And that's something that really have helped me.
I think that's super interesting, because anxiety, extreme nervousness is, of course, also a part of the game. And what I see from the outside when I look at you and your little training group, that you are extremely good at supporting one another. Also, of course, Thor, been through some rough times with his injury. Also, his Thor's sister Sif is also have been struggling with run injuries. Magnus had a crash. So you guys are, really carrying one another through the rough times.
Yeah, I think it's important to have like good people around you that really cares about you and wants you to succeed. So it's definitely something that that's super important and something that helps your performance.
Yeah, fantastic. It's so great to see. I know that in Valencia you ticked the box for the World Championship, and I believe that's one of the absolute A goals for this season. But is there anything closer to December that's really a target for you?
Not quite sure yet, but I mean for sure Worlds is like the A game, the A race of this year, and I will definitely I will do some races before, and then I think I'll have a long period of training leading up to Worlds to make sure that I really tick all the boxes before that race. But I mean all of my races is like, I mean I'm going into a race feeling like it's an A race and that I want to go out and do my very best. So for me it's not like there's just like B races. I mean all races is something I want to really focus on. Yeah.
I think I saw one Instagram account, actually I think it's the one called Triathlon Insights, showing a picture of you on the bike with all your data, like in a great position, like you just had a perfect bike fit, like you had been on the velodrome. Have you been to the velodrome since the race in Valencia or anything?
No, not. I have not been doing anything in my bike position. Really? Actually, I've just stick to like the thing I know works for me, and then I think if I want to change anything, I will need to change this and then have a long period of training at a new setup. So before a race to make sure that that everything works for me. I mean, I've had some problems with my hip the last year, and not this year, but last year. And I think that may have been because of some of my previous bike position. So for me, it's super important to just stick with the position I have now, because I know that I can lay in the position for a long time and push the watts I need to, and then still be able to run afterwards. So for now I'll stick to this position, but definitely something I will work on in the future.
I don't know if people outside of Denmark know this, but you guys in Copenhagen have this old airport station called Værløse, just outside of Copenhagen. It's basically a 5-kilometer loop where it's perfect for hard intervals, time trials, but also for like finding a really great position. So have you been doing your rides there? Or
Actually, I'm not riding that much outside. I usually stick to my home trainer.
Really?
Also when the sun is shining, just because I really like how efficient it is to train on the home trainer. But I mean, I have been to a couple of times on the station in Værløse, but for most of the time I've just been inside on the home trainer.
Laura, I have to tell you a secret, because actually that counts for me too. I'm also sitting inside all the time, and the worst part of that is that of course when it gets hot outside, at least I know you're probably training in a basement, maybe it's cooler there, but I'm sitting on the second floor, and with my windows just outside to a big yard, so it's like the sun is hammering in, and I have to have two fans, one straight in the face, one in the back, and then just so much water and liquids that I can carry.
That's great heat training.
Exactly. So is that something you are extra aware of? being so much on the turbo that you have to drink a lot more, of course, when you're doing in summertime?
Yes, for sure. And also, I mean, sitting on the home trainer, it's easy to just have a small table
Yeah,
beside you with like a lot of water and energy. And and then just making sure that all of the windows are open and a fan behind, just in front of me, and
yeah.
then I'm usually good. Yeah.
But I also believe that if you love to do that because you said it's efficient to train this way, I believe your approach to training is also a bit like, I would say, when you were in high school and you had this task, say, okay, I have to finish this. My coach say I'm going to ride 45 minutes at this pace, this power rates, and then done and job done, and then you have this feeling of satisfaction. So
Yeah.
is that pretty much how you approach your training? That it's like, now I have to go out and perform, and I don't care about enjoying the weather, about anything. I just need to hit those numbers that my coach said, and then job done.
Yeah, I mean, kind of both. I also like to go out and ride
Yeah,
when the weather is shining. But I mean, when I'm sitting on my home trainer, I know that I can like keep my watts as they have to, and just
yeah, steady. Yeah,
tick the boxes. But I mean, when I'm doing an easy ride, I would also love to go outside and enjoy the weather and ride with some company.
yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of a mix for me. What I prefer.
So does that count for the runs as well? Because I think I saw on one of your Q&As that you ran on I don't know if it was a classic what do you call it, track, but maybe it was a dusty one,
Oh, it was in Fælledparken, I think.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
that's the famous one. So
yeah,
is that something you like as well? Because of course, if you have a smaller loop, maybe a 1 kilometer loop, you could also have in the summer ice, liquid. You could have anything there, and it's easier instead of when you run 30 kilometers and then you suddenly your heart rate just explodes and pace drops. It's easier to control it when you have things on a track or a small loop like that.
yeah, yeah. I really like that. I mean, here in Copenhagen, it's just super easy. We live like
Yeah,
200 meters from the big Fælledparken,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and it's nice to just do rounds over there, and
Yeah,
every corner of the park, and
yeah.
it's nice.
I think it's super interesting that you have this approach to training. Of course, maybe that can change over time, because for some people they would absolutely bore themselves to death, but for other people it's just like the dream. And actually, that I don't know. It's maybe because of the Danish summer, but you've been here yourself that we have like one day it's 30 degrees and then we have 5 days of raining, and for me it just stressed me out. So well, forget about it. Now it's just turbo.
Yeah,
So job done. It's much easier that way. So you can. It's easier to hit those numbers
yeah, it
basically.
is. Yeah,
So
for sure.
yeah, but are you going to Roth now to support your dad next week, or what's the plan?
Actually, not. I
Not
would really
okay.
like to,
Yeah, yeah.
but afterwards, my family will go to Croatia
Really? Yeah,
with vacation over there,
yeah,
and then I will just fly to Croatia. I'm not
yeah.
sure how to pronounce
Croatia,
it.
yeah.
Yeah, and have like a vacation, not so much vacation for me, but yeah, at least be with them. So instead of flying to like Roth and then to Croatia and then it would be too difficult
Too
for
much,
me,
yeah,
too much travel. So yeah, I'll just stay at home and then follow him on the live tracker. Even
yeah.
though I have been like to all of his races the last yeah many
But
years.
but if we have to be completely honest with ourselves, it's much easier to really follow the race if you are home on your screen and you have your tracker, even though you are obviously missing a lot of the atmosphere.
Yeah.
Laura, I've been taking a lot of your time. Thank you so much for doing this. Maybe people who know the both of us thinks it's quite silly that two Danes try to speak English to one another. But of course, when you start winning races the way you do, hopefully there will be more interest around you and your results and your person. So that's why we do it. And hopefully we'll have more interviews on this channel. Actually, I just made an agreement with Patrick Nilsson, who just announced that he is retiring from the sports, which is quite sad. But boy, did he have a lot of results on his palmarès. Laura, thank you so much for sharing your victory and what's going on.
Thanks for having me.
Always welcome. So, and to you guys out there, stay tuned.